Hello everyone and welcome to a special announcement. Joining me for this special announcement is Michael from Australia. Hi Michael.
G'day.
The reason he's joining us is that this announcement is actually all about him because Michael is going to be the second programmer ever to work on Citybound. He has joined me on my one-man team that it has been so far and will help me to develop Citybound. And I guess before we talk about what exactly he'll be doing, let's find out how he became part of the team, I guess. So, Michael, why don't you tell us? Maybe let's start with how you first found out about Citybound at the first time.
Yeah, so I had just given up on SimCity 2013, like many people, and all of a sudden I saw in the Reddit for SimCity somebody talking about Citybound, so I followed that. And I saw your first video where you had all of the cool little buildings and road layouts and that really kind of art style that was very flat and very minimalistic, and it just looked really cool. So I started following the blog and the Reddit and your update videos, and I thought this was really interesting. And then you started doing live streams, and I thought that was really cool. It was something I'd tried to do before in the past, not very successfully. And when I watched you doing your live stream, you actually had like 30 people there, and they were engaged. So I thought that was really exciting. So yeah.
Yeah, and then like I remember basically the first time we interacted was also in the live streams where you started like suggesting small stuff during coding and so on. I don't know.
It was pretty funny the way you were doing stuff, like just lots of big copying and pasting, and and so everybody in the stream was constantly saying, "You forgot to rename this, and you forgot that little thing over there," because you just copy and paste these big sections of code and made a gigantic mess. So.
Yeah, it's interesting because of course live streaming takes some kind of overhead on you. You can't do programming properly and live streaming at the same time. But then you get the bonus of people helping you out, so I guess it more than evens out in the end. And you were one of those people. Maybe, I don't know, people watching might have interacted with you on Reddit or in the live streams. I think on Reddit you're M. Lucas Smith, right?
Yep.
And in the live streams you were just MLSS or what?
MLS, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So some people might recognize you. And of course, like after this video, to make you joining the team official, you will get this badge on Reddit that will say that you're a Citybound programmer. And so after one of the live streams, I think I just quickly mentioned something that would be nice to implement in the future regarding the save game feature. Like in half a sentence, I just mentioned that. And then Michael wrote me on Reddit, like, I was a little bored, so I started implementing that, and here's some ideas on how that could be done. And it already seemed so solid, and I was really impressed by that. So we decided to start collaborating on like the small improvement or feature. And I don't know, the way we worked together and discussed that really made you feel like a really good programmer to me. And
thank you.
And that's why I decided, or why I asked you if you want to collaborate more closely and maybe even become a part of the project.
Yeah, there were two things. There was that save game stuff, and that was, I really was just. I mean, it was about, I think, around midnight, and you were having so much fun coding, and then I just saw that big mess of save code, and I was like, well, I'm sure we can do better than that. And then the second one was when you were doing the A-star pathfinding, and you had it back to front. And I remember that because you sort of got this bit of a dumbfounded look on your face. I was like, oh, why didn't I think of that? And so I was really getting into this whole joining in on the live stream programming thing. I thought it was really fun. Yeah. And I just sort of kept offering, I can do other things for you, and then when you said, well, how about you join? I was like, sounds fantastic.
I guess that's how you became part of Citybound now. And I mean, we already mentioned like a couple of things that you have worked on during this process of joining. Like let me elaborate a little bit on the save game feature. Basically, save game code was really low level because it was important for me for it to be fast. But at the same time, it was also very messy and verbose. And Michael came up with a nice solution that is really, it looks high level and is really easy to use and integrate, but basically gets converted to the same low level code. So it's exactly as fast as what I had before, just looks much nicer. And I've already started integrating that into most of the game subsystems. And yeah, so far it worked out great. And now the second big thing Michael is working on is some geometry code. I don't know, do you want to elaborate a little more on that?
How deep do we want to get into the coding side of things in this video?
Not that deep, because I think people will see the details of your work in the future anyways. So well, just like roughly describe it if you want.
Yeah, I mean, there was this discussion I had on the Reddit about, I guess one of the things that really differentiates Citybound for me from SimCity, the newest SimCity, is that 2-kilometer box that they stick around your city, and that's it. Once you've filled that up, you're done. And it was, you know, I'm kind of one of those people, when I played SimCity, I wanted to make a big sprawling thing, and put parks and nice big roads and build a big city, basically. You know, like in the old SimCity 4, you could make this ridiculously massive place. I wanted to be able to do that. And so with that in mind, when you were working on Citybound, one of the features you have for zoning is you sort of treat it like a paint program. And so I was sort of pointing out that, well, that's just not going to scale to a massive city. Sure. Let's do it with geometry. And you called my bluff. So now we're kind of gearing up the geometry tools to do intersecting of different shapes and curves and lines, and allow us to do things like, well, if you have a loop of roads, we can detect that as an entire area that you can fill in automatically, or just draw along the edge of the road and make the distance based on what kind of zoning you're doing, and have them join together, and even have areas cut out in the middle so you can put gardens and forests in between them, stuff like that. But primarily it's geometric, so no longer limited to the bitmap. It can just keep getting bigger, and the only limiting factor will be how many things can be simulated at once.
Exactly. And I really hope that the frame rate that my MacBook is recording our conversation here is enough to capture all your beautiful gestures there. I'm not sure if it will, but yeah. Yes, and some other things that this new geometry code that Michael is working on will help with is nicer generation of lots, because so far lots have only been rectangles, which of course looks really strange when you have curved roads. And with this new geometry code, it will be much easier for me to create realistic wall-to-wall lots that can have complex shapes and so on. And I think this will contribute greatly to realistic-looking building blocks, basically.
And the buildings on them. There's so much code in Citybound already, just sort of I don't want to say thrown together. You know, it's perfectly reasonable the way it is. Sort of just on the edge of being expandable. So you know, that was one of those things where Citybound, you keep putting out these weekly updates on what you've added, and it's easy to forget how much is already there. So, you know, this last week I've been reviewing all the code and trying to jot down ideas while working on some geometry stuff. And yeah, there's a lot there. There's even stuff there that I didn't know that you had in there. I think people are going to be excited about when you finally show it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a second important thing that Michael has already done, that he's like the first person basically ever to look at most of the Citybound source. And just the kinds of questions and comments I got from him about that are already really helpful in improving the architecture of the whole thing. Yeah, and it's interesting to hear, like, from an outsider's perspective, like how much stuff there already is that just needs to be connected some more, and you will immediately have like new features.
Everybody be pleased to know I made and Salm actually write down what it is he wants to complete an alpha. This now exists. I don't think it's publishable, but Yeah, it's much easier now to see what's there versus what he
That's
wants
true.
in the and what we need to do to get to that.
Yeah, and it's really good that you made me write down that list. I think I will share it in some form, like clean it up a little bit. So
Yeah.
far, it wasn't needed because all the planning happened inside my head, and I didn't need to communicate with myself, basically. But now that I need to
Yeah.
communicate with you, of course, it makes a lot of sense to create something like that. And it also, I think, has the potential to give fans a slightly better um, expectation of when things will be done. Uh,
Mm. I
so
also
I will
went through
think about some way to make this list public, I think.
I also went through the Reddit and my own ideas and things that Anselm has said, and tried to gather them up into a mind map,
Hmm.
a mud map, just to keep track of what the ultimate sort of goals are. And it's just growing so big so quickly. There's so much enthusiasm from the Reddit and other forums and ideas. And I think that's one of the things that I really like about Citybound too is, it's not even out yet, but you created a community already.
That's true. And everyone is so creative and hopeful with their thinking. And basically what I've been doing so far is always keep telling people, yes, these are all nice ideas, but we're far from implementing them yet. But your mind map is really a nice visual representation of how detailed and spanning how many areas of the game these ideas are.
Well, certainly the area that surprised me the most, I mean, there are certainly whole sections of that graph that will expand out as more details put into it, but just the traffic and the road networks and train networks, and there is so much there to be added in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But the roads with cars, it's clearly the most complicated one. So
That's
um,
true.
you've
And
spent quite a few updates on that already.
yeah, way more than I wanted to. And that's something that I wanted to talk about at the end of this video. And I guess I will just do it now and then we can wrap it up. The reason why it's been a little more quiet the last few days from me is that I started to completely re-implement the road and lane system, like again. Maybe some of you remember the last time I did that in early summer, and basically it has kept me busy since then. We started working on some traffic. I tried to intersperse the whole thing with working on some gameplay stuff. And now I'm re-implementing lanes again. And the reason is just that in our last couple live streams where we worked on intersection behavior of cars, adding new behavior just got so complicated because of the way I implemented lanes that I decided to stop trying to force it and re-implement lanes in a cleaner way with the knowledge that I got now after using them so extensively. And yeah, I'm about, I don't know, maybe a quarter done with that. I guess I will do a couple live streams about that, just re-implementing it. It might be a little boring, but since some people of you really enjoyed just watching refactoring live streams, I guess you will also enjoy this, like re-implementing stuff that has already been there. But from what it looks like so far, it's already much more reasonable. And I think adding features to the new implementation will be much easier than to the old one. And yeah,
I want to see a speeding car. I want to see a car weaving in and out of lanes around the traffic like a crazy person, because to me that's sort of, when their mood goes from happy to sad to furious, and that's something that's practically there already.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see them start driving haphazardly, and I think there was a Reddit discussion about bad road design and bad intersection design.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody comes at that intersection too fast and they crash, getting real crashes as feedback on your city design choices, I think is going to be great. Because if you always have the ambulances turning up to that same intersection all the time, you might suddenly think, oh wait, maybe I should redesign this weird crappy road.
Yeah, it's interesting because I also read this exact same point and immediately liked it as well. To not only have traffic as this means of getting somewhere and like nice decorative thing, but it actually tells you about serious problems with the way you design your intersections and so on. and
naturally
maybe
you
even
wanna
like
see-
in a playful, fun way. Like the thing it reminds me most of is probably in Roller Coaster Tycoon, like where when you build an incomplete roller coaster, it just goes off in the distance, it explodes, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that too. I mean, obviously you're going to see traffic jams,
Sure.
but seeing, having cars beep their horns more and more as they get more frustrated, you can zoom in on a traffic jam and just see how frustrated people are by the way they're acting and the danger that they're putting themselves in. And even if the people are just little dots, and the cars are little oblongs, when you add it up to thousands of them, it doesn't matter that they're little oblongs, little dots. It tells
Yeah.
a whole story.
Like
It feels
you
alive.
start to see the higher level patterns, and it looks interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I really like talking with Michael about this. As you can maybe see, we just like got off on a tangent there, and I think I'll wrap it up for this video. But yeah, I guess you will have more chance to interact with Michael in the future if it is maybe in other video conversations like this. You can definitely interact with him on Reddit, I guess, and in the live streams when he's there. And yeah, I hope you all welcome him warmly into the team, and you will hear from me again soon. And yeah, have a nice time and see you soon.
Bye.